I'm Dave from boinaband.com, and welcome to day 1 of the 7-day song on Progressive House, where I'll be going through the process of making a cool, club-worthy song over 7 days. At the end, I'll post the finished song, and you guys can post your completed songs as video responses. This video is sponsored by filter.com, a freaking clever website where you can find event listings really quickly and easily by dragging tags into the search bar up here to refine your results. Since they're such nice guys, I took the liberty of making them a quick soundbite. I'm not sure if they're going for inappropriately intense drum and bass metal with their audio branding, but I figured I'd oblige them anyway. So yeah, filter.com. Give it a look. Back to the tutorial. Progressive house is a massively wide-spanning genre, meaning a lot of different things to different people, but the kind I'll be dealing with is the Deadmau5 Calvin Harris one that's been really popular for the past few years. This is the 12th 7-day song, so be sure to check out the other ones too. And also, I encourage you to post your tracks in the boinaband.com forum and share critiques to learn how to improve your tunes. So let's get on with day 1 of the tutorial, where I'll be teaching you how to make a pounding prog house beat with techniques like tape compression and layering one-shot samples and loops. Okay, let's begin. First things first, we're going to change the tempo down here to 128, which is the average tempo for a lot of prog house. We're going to chuck in, right-click, and create an M-class mastering suite combi, and just bypass it for now, so we can get a good mix without the mastering declarificating our audible judgment. Declarificating is now a word. We're going to add a mixer 14 to 2, create a combinator, let's name it beat, and inside it we're going to right-click and create Kong Drum Designer. Now, you can do a lot of what I'm about to do with Redrum if you've got an older version of Reason. Just look at any of the older 7-day songs for how to do that. But Kong has some inbuilt filters which save a lot of faffing about with routing individual samples behind the scenes. So I'm just going to load up a kit now. So I've just loaded up this kit. Loading samples into Kong is pretty easy stuff. Just make sure on the pad you've got the N and Nano sampler selected here in the drum module after hitting Show Drum and Effects. Make sure it's turned on, which always helps. And here under Sample, you'll usually have nothing if we make a new one to show you. Here you see there's nothing there. Just double click it, then find the sample you want to load up. But we're just going to go with the ones that are already in here. We've got this nice and high kind of clicky kick, one with a bit of thud to it, and this nice clap snare as well. These samples are all from the Prime Loops XXL House Drum Samples pack, which I'll link to below in the description. Punchy samples are absolutely vital when making music as minimalistic as house. If you're wondering why your drums just aren't hitting as hard as professional tracks, 9 times out of 10 it'll probably be due to weedy samples. That said, there are some techniques to get the most out of your good samples, and we'll look at those now. So first up, we're going to do some layering. As I said, we've got 2 different kicks here. The nice low end one and the nice top end one. Now think about this logically. If you could splice the low end of a hot chick of your choice with the top end of a hot chick of your choice, you'd totally do that in order to make a better hot chick. Same goes for kick drums. Okay, so first we're going to link these with the link group here under the pad group section. So just make sure it's selected, link D, make the other one selected, D, and now when we hit one of them, it triggers both of them. Kind of touching, really. However, the top and the bottom end of the kicks are quite messy when you put them together. Again, remember the logic. You don't want a hot chick with 4 legs and 4 arms. That'd get into dodgy fanfiction territory. So instead, we'll cut off the legs of one and the arms of the other with a high pass and low pass filter respectively before we violently mash them together. So for pad 1, with the kick we want just the top end of, we'll turn on a filter in effects slot 1 to high pass. And if we turn off this kick so we can just concentrate for now, just bring that frequency up a tiny bit. And same with the resonance. The resonance just gives it a brighter tone. Take a listen without any, and then with some. Just makes it a bit higher pitched and clicky. Resonance just feeds back some of the signal into the chain. If you've ever heard an obnoxious guitarist holding his guitar near his stack and heard that ear-piercing squeal, you'll be familiar with how feedback tends to make high-pitched noises. In this case, it's a tiny bit more subtle. Now, pad 2 is going to be similar, on pad 5, but a low-pass filter. So make sure it's on LP mode. We're going to have a similar kind of frequency, but no resonance this time. We want as little high end as possible on this one. So I'll show you again by muting the other one. So we've just got this nice beefy low end. So now listen what happens when we combine the two. If I turn this back on. Nice and clean with a nice top and beefy bottom. Exactly how you want your smoking hot kick drum. Now, let's turn our attention to the snare. This one is already a clap and a snare layered together, and I really like the punchiness of it as it stands. So I'll just leave it to fend for itself for now. So I'll draw in a beat. Pencil tool, draw it in. And I'll loop that stuff. So if we scroll down to where the samples are. There we go. For house, we aren't going to want much by way of complex syncopation, just 4 on the floor with claps on the 2 and the 4. And I've just copied and pasted that with Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, I assume Command-C, Command-V on a Mac, just all through the loop so we've got something to work with. So there we've got our basic beat. Next up, we'll give it a bit more saturation to beef those hits up. So right-click and create Scream for Distortion. Now that's a little bit too much saturation, so we're going to turn it to tape mode. That damage control is quite nice where it is, maybe a little bit more. Bring that P1 and P2 right up. See that P2 really adjusts the clarity there. We're going to turn off the body. Really loosens up that high end to shine a bit. We're going to take the high and the mid, just to the center there, and bring up that low end. As you can hear, that really makes it thud. Much thicker. So we've got a nice bass-oriented kind of start to the drums. Now it's okay to make the bass a bit more prominent in this section, since we're going to layer this beat up with a nice high-end loop on top to brighten it nicely. So now we're going to add a maximizer to thicken it up and add the last bit of tonal change. If we turn off the actual limiter part once we've added it, right-click, create M-Class Maximizer, and I'll drag it up. Just makes it a nice clear signal chain. To turn off the limiter part and turn on the soft clip and bring it all the way up to full. Watch what happens as I bring up the input gain. You can see that as it should be going over to the red part, the soft clip is stopping it from doing that. Watch as I take off the soft clip. See, it's peeking into the red, which is bad, you don't want it clipping, but soft clip, instead of just ducking the volume down like regular limiting, adds a little bit of distortion, but in a tonally warm and punchy way. If you don't push things too far, like this, which does destroy the sound a bit, you just end up with this considerably louder and thus punchier sound without it clipping. Alright, so join me in part 2, where I'll be adding a stereo imager for something you wouldn't quite expect a stereo imager to do, and chucking that high-end loop on top to really brighten up this drum sound. See ya!